Greetings to every one of our viewers and welcome back to the live coverage. And if you're currently standing, do yourself a favor and sit down right now, because what just took place at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open is far more than a routine scoreboard update and closer to a sporting shockwave that has ripped through the foundation of the game. If you're already seated, hold tight to those armrests, because this was not a mild surprise but a Category 5 sporting upheaval that has shaken professional tennis at its deepest structural level. We are witnessing a historic power shift in the WTA landscape, a dramatic fault line break whose aftershocks are being felt from the humid courts of Manila to the frozen avenues of Moscow and reverberating back across the desert arenas of the Emirates. The result we are analyzing right now defies logic, shreds predictive metrics, humiliates probability charts, devastates betting projections, and completely rewrites the established chain of command in elite women's tennis. When the 2026 tournament draw was unveiled, the roadmap looked smooth, orderly, and seemingly destined for the sport's heavyweights to cruise into the championship rounds without resistance. Enter Elena Rybakina, the world number 3, a dominant force often labeled the Ice Queen, armed with a serve so punishing it borders on unfair advantage. Though she officially represents Kazakhstan, her technical development and competitive polish were forged within Moscow's intense tennis system. With the attention of the entire post-Soviet tennis community fixed on her presence, she walked onto center court in Abu Dhabi as the overwhelming and unquestioned favorite to advance. We are referring to a Grand Slam champion, a hard-court authority, and a battle-tested contender who typically elevates her level when pressure peaks. On the opposite side of the net stood the outsider, the wildcard challenger, the Filipina prodigy Alexandra Eala, a rapidly rising talent and unquestionably a player demanding serious recognition. Even so, against the explosive pace and crushing shot power of the battle-hardened world number 3, most experts predicted she had virtually no realistic path to lasting beyond the opening stretch. The projected storyline called for a swift, surgical straight-sets takedown by Rybakina, essentially a controlled walkthrough on the road to the title. But sporting legacy is never authored by algorithms or spreadsheets, because it is carved out on the grind of clay, the glide of grass, and on this day the unforgiving hard surface of Abu Dhabi, where triumph is determined by resolve and execution rather than rankings and reputation. The breaking update arriving from the Emirates confirms beyond doubt that the competitive order of the tennis world has just been dramatically flipped before a worldwide audience. In a match already being described as the most chaotic, high-intensity, and tactically layered showdown of the 2026 season to this point, Eala accomplished what many believed was unattainable, holding her position against Rybakina in a confrontation that didn't just stretch endurance limits but completely shattered them. We are labeling this moment Russia stunned, and that description is not dramatic inflation but a precise reflection of reality. Online spaces across the Russian tennis sphere are in open turmoil, discussion forums are erupting, and seasoned commentators are momentarily speechless. What triggered such widespread shock was the sight of Rybakina, normally the architect of point control and precision execution, running headfirst into a defensive wall so relentless and tactically sharp that it dismantled long-standing assumptions about top-tier dominance. Describing this outcome as a simple upset understates the magnitude of what occurred, because this was a broadcast rebellion against the established hierarchy of the sport. We witnessed a clash of playing identities that will be studied in future coaching textbooks. Rybakina's shot-making was direct, explosive, and relentlessly forceful, while countering that firepower was Eala's left-handed creativity, resilience, and astonishing retrieval ability. The rallies extended beyond 20 and even 30 exchanges, with serve speeds that should have produced instant winners repeatedly being neutralized and redirected with interest. The tiebreak felt endless, with every single point unfolding like its own high-stakes drama, a contest of nerve decided by nothing more than composite rackets and felt-covered balls. The stunned reaction everywhere stems from the undeniable match quality, because Rybakina did not play poorly and must be credited for a high-level performance. It is essential to underline that the favorite did not implode or donate victory through careless errors, but instead competed with her complete weapon set fully operational. The aces landed, the forehands detonated, and Eala absorbed the pressure with remarkable composure and response accuracy far beyond her ranking position. The ripple effects of this showdown are substantial, as it highlights a possible vulnerability for Rybakina against the new generation of tactically sophisticated left-handers emerging on tour. For many Russian supporters who still emotionally claim her as their own regardless of official representation, this serves as a powerful reminder that perceived supremacy can be more delicate than assumed. For Alexandra Eala, this functions as a formal arrival ceremony on the elite stage, a declaration to the field that her development phase is over and she's now targeting the sport's top predators. We will now break down the match phase by phase to reveal how this result materialized, examining the psychological pressure, the spatial patterns of court positioning, and the decisive moments where momentum swung back and forth like a pendulum in a storm. We will cover the matchup volatility, the locked-in stare-downs, the tactical adjustments, and a crowd that evolved from restrained applause into roaring intensity. The crowd erupted into thunderous cheers once they realized they were witnessing history unfold in real time. So fasten your seatbelt for a technical deep dive into a miracle performance. This is not a routine match summary, but a detailed forensic breakdown of how a dominant force was systematically dismantled on court. This is Alexandra Eala versus Elena Rybakina at the Abu Dhabi Open, the storyline that has the global tennis community holding its breath. I am laying out the headline and the pivotal segments right now, so get ready because we are about to conduct a professional, high-resolution analysis of the script that is rattling the tennis world. It is time to pry this cold case wide open and carefully study the structure of a genuine shock result to understand the scale of this competitive explosion. We first need to evaluate the volatile conditions that were brewing inside the stadium before the opening serve was struck. Imagine the classic setup to a timeless sports drama, the relentless underdog challenging the ice-cold, seemingly untouchable ruler of the court. Context is everything in this scenario. Elena Rybakina arrived in Abu Dhabi with a mission not just to participate but to dominate and control the draw. Her hard-court run leading into this showdown had been overwhelmingly authoritative, dismantling opponents with ruthless efficiency. Watching Rybakina at peak gear is like observing knockout tennis at its highest setting. Her serve stands among the most dangerous and feared shots on the modern tour. The threat is not only the sheer speed, often registering near 120 miles per hour, but the scalpel-like placement that clips the lines. Her tactical formula is brutally simple and devastatingly effective: a crushing serve, a short defensive return, and then a forehand strike that ends the exchange. It is efficient, it is clinical, and it is intimidating for anyone across the net. In Russian and Kazakh tennis media circles, the pre-match discussion was minimal and driven by statistical certainty rather than disrespect, with most previews focusing on her projected finals opponent and framing this meeting with the Filipino standout as a procedural stepping stone. The wave of disbelief now spreading through that audience comes directly from that extreme confidence. She was considered untouchable, and then Alexandra Eala entered the frame, the Filipino standout who had been steadily refining her game away from the spotlight while waiting for a breakthrough opportunity. Developed through the Rafa Nadal Academy system and backed by elite junior credentials, she understands that the professional tour is a far more demanding battlefield. As a tactical left-hander, Eala carries a natural geometric advantage, especially when she swings wide-angle serves from the ad court to pull rivals off balance. Still, her toolkit does not feature the same raw hammer-like power that Rybakina delivers with ease. Instead, her approach resembles high-speed chess, anticipating patterns and deploying a heavy topspin forehand designed to disrupt the rhythm of flat hitters. Rybakina towered over her with superior reach and leverage that appeared overwhelming on paper before the contest began. Many analysts dismissed the matchup outright, predicting Eala would be overpowered with no means to counterpunch. That forecast proved completely inaccurate. At 2-1, the tactical snare was triggered. Although the expected script held briefly at the start, with Rybakina opening with a dominant love hold punctuated by ace after ace that echoed through the arena, the illusion of inevitability cracked when Eala stepped to the line and changed the texture of the match. Instead of matching power with power, she diffused the threat with variation, carving low slices and sharp lefty angles that forced Rybakina out of her strike zone and into uncomfortable defensive movements. Moving smoothly one moment, Rybakina suddenly faced a love 30 hole on her own serve after 2 pressured points that were not careless mistakes, but forced breakdowns created by Eala stepping inside the baseline on a second serve and stealing reaction time. She drove a backhand clean down the line that left Rybakina frozen in place. A shocked silence washed over the spectators, while commentators likely paused mid-sentence in disbelief at the shift they were witnessing. Rybakina escaped immediate danger with trademark aces, but uncertainty had already been planted. Eala was not just surviving the encounter but actively hunting openings, setting the stage for the tiebreak that ignited worldwide headlines. This was not merely a rally. It turned into a punishing mental war of attrition where Rybakina would launch a 100-mile-per-hour missile and Eala, sprinting under extreme pressure, would somehow float a desperate defensive lob back into play and reset the point. By absorbing and diffusing that power, Eala captured the opening set 7-6, sending a surge of stunned energy through the stadium as disbelief spread across the stands. The unthinkable was unfolding in real time, as a wildcard competitor took a set from the world number 3 through tactical intelligence rather than raw firepower. The third key factor centers on a left-handed spin masterclass that dismantled the flat pace we discussed earlier, so let us break down the technical reasons behind this headline shocker. Rybakina's game thrives on predictable tempo because she redirects incoming speed like a polished reflector, returning it with even greater force when her timing is clean. Eala completely denied her that rhythm by injecting disruptive variety, using a calculated blend of looping topspin, shifting ball heights, and heavy rotation that coaches often label controlled chaos. She launched high-kicking shots that climbed above Rybakina's strike zone and forced downward contact, then followed with skidding, low-trajectory drives that undercut timing and balance. That constant distortion of the contact window produced a chain reaction of forced mistakes, and Rybakina's frustrated glances toward her player box showed she knew the geometry, not the equipment, was defeating her. The cross-court pattern became a danger zone because Eala fed uncomfortable angles and dipping trajectories instead of the flat balls Rybakina prefers, dragging her wide and exposing open lanes for counters. At 4-2, the favorite surged back with authority, and credit must be given because the second set temporarily restored order as Rybakina increased serve velocity and shortened exchanges to seize it 6-2. Fatigue visibly weighed on Eala after extended defensive sprints, and commentators began to assume the upset threat had expired, yet that apparent reset was actually the gateway to total chaos. The deciding set evolved into a survival test where contenders fade and reputations are forged, and after a brief reset break, Eala returned with renewed movement and composure. The early games were holds on paper but brutal battles in reality, repeatedly reaching deuce as serve percentages dipped and pressure mounted. At 4-all and 30-all on Rybakina's serve, a 115-mile-per-hour delivery was blocked back deep by Eala to trigger a lung-burning 24-shot exchange that pushed both athletes to the edge. Rybakina attempted a line-painting finisher and missed by inches, handing over break point as the arena erupted, and Eala converted with a fearless drop shot that showcased pure competitive nerve. Serving at 5-4 for the match, she faced crushing tension and the classic underdog danger moment, while Rybakina saved 2 match points and nearly swung momentum with aggressive second-serve attacks. Then came the tournament's signature strike. A full-stretch running forehand passed down the line from outside the doubles alley that curved back onto the paint and earned even her opponent's acknowledgement. When Rybakina's final reply drifted long, Eala dropped to the court overwhelmed, while Rybakina stood motionless in disbelief at the net. The shock resonates because of the ranking distance, the experience gap, the prize money tier, and a fast hardcourt surface widely viewed as ideal for Rybakina's power patterns. Eala did not just win but overturned surface logic and answered consistency doubts, while the draw structure and betting outlook were instantly thrown into disorder. Passionate Russian and Kazakh supporters who viewed Rybakina as a future standard-bearer experienced this as a system shock delivered by a rising Filipina star from a smaller tennis market, challenging long-held assumptions about regional dominance. The post-match handshake was professional but frosty, while online reaction exploded and analysts began questioning movement, tactics, and preparation, yet the more accurate story centers on what Eala executed correctly. This result signals competitive turnover pressure at the top because elite names are now being hunted by fearless, tactically advanced challengers. The numbers underline the story with a large error differential, elite breakpoint efficiency, and outstanding success when Eala moved forward to finish points instead of only defending. This victory is not just another mark in the win column but a declaration that she belongs on major stages, while for Rybakina it is a sharp reminder that rankings offer no protection once rallies begin. The crowd that initially leaned toward established star power ended by chanting Eala's name, capturing the magnetic force of a true underdog breakthrough. The consequences will echo through the season as opponents study this blueprint of depth, spin, and pace disruption against power tennis. Champions respond and adjust, and Rybakina is fully capable of recalibrating, but the aura of automatic dominance has clearly been dented. For Eala, this is a launch moment built on tennis intelligence and structured execution rather than luck or reckless shot-making. The Philippines gains a new sporting figurehead, and the tour gains a dangerous matchup nobody will overlook again. This Abu Dhabi clash will be remembered as the pivot point where momentum narratives flipped and resilience outperformed brute force, producing a result that felt shocking yet deeply satisfying for tactical purists. Now the debate moves to the audience, with questions about whether this was a one-day anomaly or a true arrival, and how far this breakthrough run can extend. If you appreciate detailed tactical breakdowns instead of surface-level summaries, stay connected for continued match analysis and performance insights as the tournament progresses.